Today we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions that might have a negative. All right, so let's review. 1/3 plus 1/3. We are going to keep the denominator, and then we'll add the numerators. 1 plus 1 is 2. Be careful in case it says subtraction. So when you subtract, you keep the denominator as long as it's the same, and you subtract the numerators. 1 minus 1 is 0. This one we could simplify. 0 divided by any number is just 0. All right, let's try this one with a negative. We have the same denominator, so we're going to keep the 3. But on top, we then have 1 plus -1, which is 0. So the answer to this one is also going to be 0. And I'm going to make this negative a little bit bold because kind of blends in with that 0. All right. We're going to keep our denominator of 3 for this one. For the numerators, we have -1 plus -1. Now, negatives always belong to the numerator. So even though it's kind of floating here in the middle, it belongs to the top. So -1 plus -1, that's a horrible thing. We lost $1, and then we lost another $1. How many dollars did we lose altogether? 2. So that one is -2/3. All right, this one with subtraction. With subtraction, you can change it to addition. Sorry, I just got interrupted by the busing announcements. So you can change subtraction to addition as long as you change the next number to the opposite. So I can change this to +1/3. So then it becomes the same as this one up here, and it would be 2/3. Now let's practice multiplying and dividing. When you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 3 is 9. So 1/3 times 1/3 is 1/9. When you divide fractions, if you have the same denominator, you can divide straight across. 1 divided by 1 is 1, and 3 divided by 3 is also 1. And that simplifies to just 1. The other strategy is to keep that first number, change it to multiplication, and then find the reciprocal of this next number, which means to kind of flip it upside down. So that would become 3/1. And then if we multiply straight across, we would get 3/3, which is also equal to 1. All right. A negative times a positive is a negative. So this would be -1/9. For this one, -1/3 times -1/3, we already know 1/3 times 1/3 is 1/9. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So it's +1/9. All right. -1/3 divided by 1/3. From up here, 1/3 divided by 1/3 is 1. And a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So it's going to be -1. You could also do -1/3 times +3/1. And when you multiply straight across, you would get -3 divided by 3. And that is still the same as -1. And then 1/3 times 1/3, we know that's divided by. You could divide straight across because it has the same denominator. So that would be 1/1, which simplifies to 1. There's the bus announcements again. All right, so that is 1, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And again, you could do -1/3 times -3/1. I'm going to maybe grab a separate color. I feel like this is a little bit cluttered. So you could do -1/3 times -3/1. And if you multiply straight across, you would get 3/3, and a negative times a negative is a positive, and 3/3 simplifies to 1.